what I want people to feel like when they see a drone in the air. I don't want them to think, oh no, what's wrong? Oh no, is someone in a car accident? Oh no, it's like, is there a train track that's broken? I want people to think, what are we building?
In the past year, you've scaled from 28 employees to over 45, I think. You're now like scaling production of your Universal and the Atlas, which are your two drone stations. And you also smashed through that wall, which I'm sure we'll show, to double your like factory space. What's it been like?
Yes, we unlocked more of the map, and during Christmas party, we had the whole team come and punch through the wall. Essentially, everybody took a swing in it. It was a pretty incredible time, and yeah, just kind of from starting in my garage and then coming out here, getting orders, and then kind of having more orders to really expand. That's how we do things. You know, we expand for a reason. We expand because we have people interested in our technology, and because we're building things that get deployed across the world that people like
Actually
rely
wanna
on.
use.
Yeah, and they use them, and that's definitely something that comes with a lot of learning, a lot of mistakes, but also a lot of incredible times that are unforgettable.
Yeah.
So yeah, breaking the wall was crazy. We repainted everything. We hung a bigger flag, and yeah, we've done a lot.
What have been the biggest like growing pains over the past year with all this expansion?
Let's see. I think, well, just there's a lot of things that go into like a hardware technology company that swaps batteries all across the world, and I'd say one of the growing pains is just having so many buttons to connect, or so many buttons to press, and really when people put your technology to the test in ways that you really haven't anticipated, and then really being able to scale these systems across the world that are used every day in these different conditions with minimal or no downtime. And that's something that we've been focusing on incredibly here, where it's not just a demo piece anymore. It's not just a proof of concept. It's not just something, hey, once a day we're going to show that drones can fly around and be completely automatic. It's like, no, businesses, governments, countries, police departments are relying on our technology. And I guess the growing pain is that we just have more boats to carry, and we're carrying them.
Do you have any examples of customers like using your technology in a way that you just did not expect at all and just completely, broke or whatever?
Let's see. A lot of people want to put our drone stations on boats for some reason. I have no idea why, but they're like, okay, great, I got this station. I can launch it from anywhere, and they get it, and they're like, all right, now where's the boat mounting kit? And I'm just like, what? Who said it could work on a boat? And I know that there's a lot of things that we can do to make that happen, but then something I wouldn't expect is immediately to put a drone station on a vessel. Nevertheless,
so you're hearing from customers, but you're like, nah, no, don't use it like that.
Well, yeah, I hear from select customers, and they're just like, we're patrolling this thing all the time, or we got to go respond to emergencies, or we're in some oil rig in the middle of the ocean. And I'm just like, okay, it makes sense now. So we'll work on that.
Yeah. When we were talking last night, you mentioned that, if anything ever breaks in any part of one of your products or anything else, you basically immediately send a guy to go fix it.
Yeah.
Whether it's a Sunday, midnight, whatever, you just go do it.
They're called Hex Ops. They basically parachute in. They fall from the sky or whatever, and then they're on site sometimes faster than people really expect. And
how do customers respond when that happens?
Sometimes they're like, oh, this is amazing, or someone's like, dude, it's like Sunday at 9 a.m. I called you like last night. How are you here already? Like, can you give me let me put my pants on or something? And so yeah, we are extremely responsive to stuff like that, and it just comes with ensuring that like our technology is always operational, and that's a guarantee beyond just like having an automatic drone station. Is you now are part of like a team that's driving forward and forcing your organization into like a new dimension of reality. I don't mean to use too many esoteric terms here, but that's kind of what it is.
When you were first starting the company, there was basically like a 2 or 3 year period where you were pulling at least one all-nighter pretty much every week, I believe. And I know that you were doing that so that you could build hardware because it didn't require as much brain power as building software. Has that kind of shifted since, in the past like 12 months, you've gotten a little bit more scale?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd say they're not all-nighters anymore, but it's most of the time like it's like go to bed around 2 or 2:30 and wake up at like 7:30, 8, and so that's now my new margin, but it's gotten standardized to that. It's not like, okay, I do 2 or 1 all-nighters a week and then I'm back to like 8 or 7 hours of sleep. It's like, okay, every night's like a short little mini sprint.
Some little mini sprint, and you get
But
like a few hours and
but
you're
I
back to it.
I do have a couch in my office. It's incredibly comfy, and I live about 0.65 miles away.
Yeah.
You can check Strava on that, but yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah. How do you think that like impacts the kind of people that you're able to hire, that you're like so like super dedicated to trying to make this thing work?
I think they get it. They get it pretty quick that like we're not like this isn't just it's not a meme, it's not just it's something that they see me just grinding away at some crazy thing that's like, okay, I guess if I don't show up as much as this guy, like whatever I do, like it's not I could do more, I could always do more. And that's kind of what I want to drive forward, especially with the people that we service and our products. Like we can always be better, we can always do more. And if I'm the blocker, like I need to do everything I can to unblock everything. So
Is that the thing that like weighs on your mind the most, is just having you be the bottleneck?
yeah, it's basically like every day I'm like, what am I blocking? Who am I stopping? Like why didn't we order this thing yet? Why didn't we get this mold made yet? Why didn't we get this like software pushed to these stations yet? And it's just like either tracking all of that or just in ensuring that the teams are in place and everybody's unblocked to do so. So yeah.
So I know that you spend a lot of time running as kind of like a stress outlet. How'd you even like initially get into that? And then like, how have there been any moments in the past year or so where there's been a super stressful moment, but you've been able to kind of just like overcome it through
Mm-hmm.
just running 14 miles or whatever it
Yeah.
is?
No, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Initially, well, the first time I was like got into running was in middle school. I was a little insecure about my weight, and so one year I had a goal, and I just woke up every morning at like 6:30 a.m. and ran a mile. And then after that, I kind of got a little bit more into shape. But then I met some friends in college that really like running, and someone at one point had a dream and they just said, Curt, you're in my dream and you were training for a marathon. Are you doing that? And I'm like, I guess I am now. So I that's when I got into running longer. And I wouldn't say I'm the most like I'm the biggest runner in the universe, but definitely it's a good outlet to let go of some stress.
What's been like the biggest hurdle with, I think you're growing something like over 100% year over year, which, means that there's a lot
Mm.
of hiring. What have been the biggest hurdles for like ramping up the production of your products?
Sometimes just getting the parts, like getting parts from suppliers. A lot of this, like we bust this down to create this new order of a large production run, and then immediately that's when all of like the tariffs came into effect. That's when all of the pricing started changing, and so of
What was it
course
like mid that, during the
we
tariffs?
were just calling everybody and we're like, take our PO now at this price. Like, don't change it, don't change it. And they're like, we're gonna have to change it a little bit. So yeah, some of the components, at least, before the tariffs, before we were motivated to change everything to U.S. made stuff, we were obviously sourcing some things like motors and things from overseas, and we just had to like quickly lock down those prices right at the beginning of this whole debacle. And then it was really great when just like tariff just up, down, up, down, up, down. And it's just keeping a hold of that is a whole nother challenge on its own. And we've got an incredible team here that just makes sure that at any moment we've got our eye on it. And we have some guy in the Dominican Republic that has been stashing these things for like the past few years, and we just get them from that supply. So yeah, I'd say it's a whole nother like dimension or level to hardware manufacturing. It's keeping a track on supply chain and now geopolitics with ever fluctuating tariffs.
You were in this warehouse pretty early, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think roughly last like May or
Mm-hmm.
somewhere around there, you decided to smash through that wall. What did it like take for you to decide to make the decision to, double your footprint?
Yeah, so one big decision was we saw our neighbors next to us. It was like a lamp store or a bike shop, and we were kind of just counting the days because we knew we were getting really cramped in here. Just like atlases were all over the place. We had two like production lines running simultaneously, and everyone was taking each other's tools, and we just needed more space. And so we were eyeing it and kind of talking to the people that manage this complex. And really, in order to pull the trigger, a lot of dominoes had to fall. The front office had to leave, or as soon as the front office left, we took it over. We busted through that wall and set up some more office space there. And then, yeah, just over the New Year's, we got this big order in, and from a bunch of different customers, and now we're like, there's no way we're making all these in this space. Like, I'm literally gonna fight you. So we broke down the wall. We fully committed, and that has had.
Do you just enjoy like expanding with violence?
I think that, yeah, sometimes you got to break through walls. You got to bump into walls. It's not always easy going, and sometimes, yeah, if you can, sometimes it's not over or around, but the best way is through.
Yeah. So I know like you're flying all over the place to go talk with customers and going to a bunch of events to like meet people. What's been the most success, or like what's been the biggest success you've had from just meeting people in person by getting on planes?
Well, I've got a bunch of stories, but I really like this one, and it's with some of our partners in Italy, where we were working on this big roadway project with the new Universals, and we had to go out and deploy these drone stations all along a roadway. And so, of course, the team was new to this. It was some of the first like drone stations that were ever deployed for roadway management. Some of the first times that they were really seeing this utilized in like the road Autostrada. They're just the big roadway management company of Italy, and they were introduced from somebody who knew us from some show or from some event or podcast or something. And I flew out there. I flew the drones with them. They took me up to a big chalet or a really nice restaurant on the top of the hills. They treated me nice, and when I was there, they were actually previous customers of our first product, the Global, and they used the dickens out of this thing. They were flying this thing like 10 times a day, way more than I ever thought it was possible. And they were doing that for like a year, and they're like, oh, this one motor, sometimes it's like glitchy, And I'm like, I know, dude. so I'm not kidding. We are in the middle of like of middle of Italy, like an hour and a half north of Rome, and there's this drone station in the middle of the mountains. And they're like, this is the motor. And I say, okay, I know what's happening. There's a crimp on this wire, and sometimes the connection is loose after like 10,000 cycles. So I go there, I don't have the crimping device. I unplug it from the motor. I like cut off the wire, and I don't have a crimper or a wire stripper. I strip the wires with my teeth, and I put the connector back on. And if you plug it in and you like secure it with super glue, those connections are solid, so they never, because it needs to get unplugged. And it just worked, dude. So
how they respond when
they were just like, all right, this kid, nothing's stopping this kid. He didn't have crimpers,
we want to
didn't
give
have
you
wire
more
strippers.
orders.
Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, they bought like 3 more on the spot right there. So it was a good deal, and I really love working with them, and I think there's a couple big things that we're doing with them soon.
Yeah, awesome. How do you think about like product development? You started with the Global, and then you went to, I think, the Universal, and then the Atlas. How'd you decide to make like the transition and figure out when was the right time to be expanding instead of just focusing on making sure that the one product really worked well?
Yeah, so this is actually an incredible question. This is probably the question that I have to deal with every single day in my brain all the time. It's like make everything that you've got as best as it can possibly be, or figure out how to take everything that you've got and make it into something new. And that's like somewhat an innovator's dilemma, or it's some just issue where you know that you can continuously make incremental changes to things that are already working great, but they can be 99.9999999, and you can keep adding nines to that product with new revisions, new products launched, like the iPhone, whatever. Are we at 20 yet? I don't know, but they do keep getting some level of better. And so to that point, I think that you do have to be doing both. It's not one or the other. There's both, because there's so much that you learn from developing a product, and it's never the right time. It's never the right time. You've always got a million different things on fire, but there's something that's just in your mind that's just like twisting around, and they're like, what if we like flipped everything around and on its head, and then everything's different? And I don't know. That keeps me up at night a lot, for sure. But we're 1,000% dedicated and beyond the whole team's focus on products that we currently have. And I just really, really think that understanding the customer is the biggest thing that drives us forward, because yeah, there's some things where it's difference between like putting a band-aid on something rather than like solving the root issue. And so I think it's also a spiral, right? We went from the global, and then we had a customer come, so it was global Atlas. We had a big customer said, I like the global, make it for this bigger drone. And then we had somebody say, I like the global, now make it for like this drone, and that drone. So that's kind of the
was it, so
evolution.
it was something you had something that was working, and then there was, customers just said, okay, I have another, what is it, asset, drone, whatever,
Exactly.
that also needs the same service.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Please swap this drone's batteries. Now it's like 3 times heavier and this much stronger, and you need X many more motors and stuff. And so we're like, all right, we'll take it on. How many do you want? And that's kind of been how we've grown, how we've expanded. It's been directly customer driven. All product development has been customer driven. And it comes down to just finding the best ways to like mechanically do something that drives how a product evolves over its lifetime.
I know that like it might be a pretty easy decision if, some customer was buying like 1,000 universals, and then they were like, actually, I want, 100 Atlases. But I imagine that's probably not how it starts. I imagine that someone comes in and says, okay, I've got a few universals and I want 1 or 2 or 3 Atlases. So at what point does it make sense to you to actually make that leap to go build something, not knowing if there's going to be a huge number of customers?
Yeah. So good question, but it actually does start the way that you said it initially. A lot of the times there's customers that come up, and they're like, look, I am like the government of Croatia. I want 1,000 drone stations. And I've heard that story way too many times. Yeah.
Has the government of Croatia actually told you that they want lots of drone stations? Okay, amazing.
And so, I mean, it's kind of like, okay, but you need to start with one so you understand it. And it's kind of like, okay, they talk a big game, and then they don't pull through on like step 1, which is like get one unit and figure it out,
Yeah.
and the people that are really trying to lead the industry are the ones that do take that first step, that do get 1, 5, 10, however many drone stations to scatter around their locations, their assets, and track them to really get this kind of higher level view of how to manage the world. And that's really what we're trying to drive. And so from some standpoint, I mean, getting started, like making the global, our first drone station, I was just in the garage making it. I know that somebody wanted a drone station for this one drone, and they bought one of them. So I said, okay, I have to make at least one. And then there's a bunch of components inside. You need like you need a fan, you need a HVAC cooler in case if it's in like a really hot environment. You need six batteries, whatever. And people were just like, how do you know how many batteries to put in? How do you know like what compressor to use? It's like, I'm figuring it out. Okay?
It's a little bit of guesswork.
Yeah, it's you're guessing it, and then at the same time, feel like sometimes I'm like building products for myself. Like if I was receiving this, or if I was wanting a drone station for my drone, what would I want in it? So it's a little bit of just like, how would I want to experience my product?
Yeah, and how do you think about like building in reliability? Because I know that this is one of those things. This is a super complex product, and the first one you probably use a whole bunch of third-party parts, and then over time you start using your own parts and building your own stuff in house. How do you kind of get to the standard of quality where or reliability, that the product is going to work pretty much every single time if someone buys it and uses it?
Yeah. So, I mean, that comes down to somewhat the complexity of the product, all of the components in the product, and then being able to design it for quality and reliability, and then also tracking the procedures that go into manufacturing to ensure that each one's built exactly the same, or you can track any variation over a period of time. And so it's a lot more of a system in place rather than just like the design or like what the component spec is, because there's a lot of time we get components that are spec'd out for some level of amperage or voltage or whatnot, and some level of cycles, but then we put them to the test, and really they don't make it. And then sometimes we put them to the test and in our standpoint, but then it gets used more and more and more in the field, and then in the field there's like, oh, it didn't meet that spec. And so then it's kind of like, how do we guarantee that prior to selling something that is still in its infancy of like what this product should be doing? And from just experience and getting the stations all over the map is how we can understand how to build in more levels of quality and reliability into our systems. And so yeah, we're happy to have hundreds of thousands of cycles. We're past 500,000 across the board right now, which is great, but it's never enough. You can always do better. And yeah, we're gonna keep going.
Has there been any moment where you had to go fly out to, you have this policy of flying out and saving a customer if anything ever breaks? Has there been any great story other than the one in Italy where that
Did I
happened?
tell you the one last time about Saudi or
I
no?
don't think so.
Okay, well, one time, so one of our first customers, he was in Saudi, and he bought a drone station, and he wanted to see me like build it. He wanted to know the guts, so he himself could like service it if needed. And so he flew me out to go and kind of show him how the product works and build one with him. I couldn't ship the whole thing in my suitcase or in my carry-on because it was bigger than the allowable dimensions. So I broke it up into different parts, right? There's the back of the station, the HVAC, the gripper mechanism, all these different things. And then I put them in separate boxes, shipped them with went through TSA as my checked luggage. I paid like $500 for all the check bags. And then TSA of like, I don't know who I flew, but they wrecked some of them. Like they stepped on them or whatnot. And so I go to assemble it. Everything's going great. Everything aligns. We swap the battery. All is great. And then I find out that the HVAC, like one of the copper pipes was like fractured, or like it
just busted.
It busted.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we braze copper tubing together to make the compressor based cooling system that makes our drone stations work in hotter environments. And so I was in the middle of Saudi. Of course, I didn't have a brazing tool, or I didn't have like the fluid to put into this thing.
All your tools that you normally have at
yeah,
home.
So I like, of course, well, it is Saudi, so everything's hot. So that means there's a lot of business for HVAC guys. So we go out to this, we leave the area. We go out like in the middle of nowhere, basically, to this shack in the middle of nowhere that's like, we do HVAC repair. So we go in, I bring like one of the world's smallest like refrigerators ever. I set it down in front of them, and they're like, what the heck is this? They're like touching it, messing with it. I don't speak the language, so the guy I'm with has to like communicate with them. And then they get out their vacuum pump and they set it next to it. And this scared me, but their vacuum pump had 2 wires coming out of it. And they just took the 2 raw wires and like plugged them into the wall, like into the socket. I was like, oh, there's no OSHA here. And so they put the vacuum pump on it and they figure out where the leak is. And they're like, all right, come back in 30 minutes, go get like a fish or something and we'll fix it. So
get a fish?
Yeah, we went and got like one of the raw fish. We like sat on the ground. Not a raw fish, it was like a fried fish.
Okay.
It was nice. It was very like experienced the culture. It was awesome. And then we come back. The HVAC is like cooling like crazy. Like I couldn't get this thing to cool this hard. So we go back. We install the HVAC in the drone station. We put it outside, and it got a 50-degree temperature differential in the middle of the desert. So it was 110, 120 degrees out.
It was like 60
and
degrees.
It was like 70 degrees in the box. And
crazy.
And I was just like, there's got to be something in the universe that's making this work. But yeah, just all this stuff lined up, and that event definitely changed my life.
Yeah, that leads perfectly into, you got a bunch of customers all over the place. How did you like build the relationships and trust with like Chevron and Shell and some like BNSF and all those other guys?
A lot of it is just kind of doing the early wins and making those successful. at least to a standpoint as far as you can take it, and really just being alive and telling your story, going to like expos, going on trade shows, giving live demos. If somebody submits a contact us, we've got some crazy people filling out our contact us forms.
Got
And
any good ones? Do you want to?
we'll talk later. But there, so like just doing your stuff and telling your story and saying where your limits are, because of course they don't believe that people that are like, oh, we can do everything, we're the best thing since sliced bread. We just go and we say we can do this.
We do
We
it really
can't do
well.
that. We do this really good. We can't do that. We can't do that yet. We can't do this. What do you want us to do? And from there, they're like, okay, these guys are real. We can talk. We can communicate truthfully, and we can just say what's the next step to get a win to prove the technology, so that our organization and our stakeholders can really understand that this is technology that we're going to need across our fleet throughout the future.
Yeah, and how many people have come back to you and been like, "We want to put it on a boat"? Or did someone ask you if they could put it on a boat, or did they just put it on a boat and then it like didn't work right?
Uh-huh.
Um,
Like the people that wanted on a boat, this is a good story. So they wanted on a boat, they came to Hextronics and they made us physically simulate a boat. So they like picked up the universal in the parking lot. We had it plugged in and we had just like two guys just like shaking the drone station as the drone was coming down to land, you know? Like they actually picked it up and they're like, okay, this big boat, we got to swap to this side. We're going to this side. And yeah, the drone made it on when the waves were not as big.
awesome. So I know that like you recently hired a guy that you think is absolutely cracked, Corey.
Yes.
Yeah, your first or one of your 10Xers. How have your hiring practices kind of changed over the past year or so as you've learned more?
Hiring's always an interesting can of worms, because there's a lot of incredible people that reach out, and there's a lot of incredible people that want to learn from a company like Hextronics, or they want to be a part of something bigger and they can bring some specific like piece of the puzzle. And sometimes people come and they're like, look, I'm insane at this stuff, this and that. What do you need me for? And sometimes it's like, well, if you can do this and that, we weren't thinking about doing that, but maybe we can slot that in. But first, we've got to build the foundation, and then we can go off onto this, like building another kingdom, basically. And when it comes to hiring people with that drive and just saying like, look, we're gonna get there. This is the thing that's like blocking us from getting there. Let's blast through that wall so we can keep to the next one. And so getting people, yes, that are specialized, that at least have incredible focus, dedication to just whatever's in the way, blasting through. A lot of the times it's somewhat easy to see that from when a person first presents themselves, when they show what they do, and how they communicate about their passions. A lot of the times it's just like, all right, is this guy gonna stop at nothing to get stuff done, or is he gonna leave early? And we don't like the guys that leave early. Well, I'm not saying that like it's 9 to 5 typically. You do have 2 days per week work from home, Saturday and Sunday.
You just want people that want to be here.
Exactly. Yeah, we want to build a community, and we want to build an incredible world. And I think people that want to build an incredible world will stop at nothing to do it. And I don't know if that's our practices, how that's changed, but that's just my mindset now of just people that want to do it are going to do it.
Yeah. Do you think that you've got any kind of like advantage for being in Miami and being one of the, I wouldn't necessarily say like few, but there's not a whole lot of other like really strong tech companies or early stage startups. Do you think you've got some advantage for finding people that want to be here and don't have a huge selection of opportunities?
Yeah, I think Miami's an interesting story. And we're definitely not the only one, but the more I talk to people, the more they're like, why are you in Miami? What's going on in Miami? And it's kind of like somewhat a blessing in disguise, because yeah, we're not any of the major hubs, SF, LA, New York, Austin, Chicago, but we are still a pretty incredible city and a great place to be. Miami Beach is incredible. We have amazing food. We have great music. It's always a good time and always a good reason for customers to come visit Miami. But beyond that, it's kind of like we do have some level of seclusion or some level of like independence or freedom or just like calm and tranquility of just like, hey, we don't have people coming in every 10 minutes asking what's going on or causing a storm. We really hunker down and just focus on the people that want to be here aren't here like too much for the scene or for other communities. They're here to build Hextronics. And yeah, on Sundays we go to the beach, we play volleyball. It's an incredible life. We're starting GTA 6 a bit early. But yeah, I think that the limitation of other I don't know if it's distractions or about other noise around us really helps us focus in and hone in on what we do best.
So like every time I come here, you've basically gone from, putting something down on paper to having a physical version of whatever you were thinking about 3 months ago.
Hmm.
How do you think through what to make next and what's like a fun idea versus what's a product that you're actually going to build in the next like 12 months or 2 years?
Hmm. Yeah, I have a lot of sketches. I have a lot of crazy ideas that probably shouldn't work out, but sometimes I'd like tinker on the side and make them anyways. It's just, I don't know if I can still have a hobby and the hobby is making a random weird little product or something, but that's definitely one of mine. And a lot of the times in order to design something or like think about some mechanical way to like swap a battery better or like be faster or swap the battery of this particular drone, drawing it out helps me at least and it helps me think through all of the different kind of geometries or methodologies behind it. Yeah, or kind of just like software paths that we need to do for some user interface. It's a lot easier just for me to take that directly, sketch it out, and the more I do it, the better I get at
Mm,
it. And so it's kind of like I love doing that, and I don't know if it makes me an artist or anything of doing these little mechanical sketches, but it definitely feels like I'm being creative, and I do like being creative. But definitely taking that creativity and turning it into an actual product that's being used by people and being manufactured at scale. There's definitely a certain level of energy and draw that the drawing needs to have behind it. It needs
yeah.
to have something that's just like, wow, that looks so cool. If that doesn't exist in reality, then why am I even in reality? Like,
What do you think the typical timeline is from you going from like an idea in your head to a prototype to a shippable product? And like, how does that look?
yeah, well, from idea to prototype, it's not too much. From a product from a prototype to a shippable product, that's a lot more. So I guess doing like the early sprint, like the 5K or something of an idea to a prototype, it's a lot different than that full marathon. That's what it really takes. And I guess kind of like I was talking about is it's like initially the global our first product started as an idea as a sketch as drawings on my wall on a whiteboard that thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if the thing could do that. But in order to do that and really flesh out that sketch, every single piece needs to be documented, needs to be defined, needs to be designed, and then built again and again and again and at scale and then supported throughout the future. So there's an incredible amount that goes into a product. It's not just my sketches or my designs, but it's also the pull of the world behind it. It's the community and it's the people that you talk to and that you whisper these little ideas to, and they're like, "Wouldn't it be cool?" And they're like, "Hell yeah, heck yeah, I want one of those." And so it's all of that comes into why to actually build something that you like thought about. And
Mm,
if there's a reason that you don't build it, then you don't build it. But there needs to be like at least one or 100 reasons to build something. So I guess yeah, it's just incremental little steps is how you get the whole marathon.
yeah. Is there any like what's the main limiting factor on growth? Is it, hiring great people or is it like getting more customers? Because I know there's like a few companies that I've talked or a few founders that I've talked with where they've got a whole bunch of customer backlog, but they literally
Hmm.
just can't find enough people or enough space to build the products faster.
Hmm.
What's that for you?
It's like there's the book, or at least the idea, like the mythical man month. How much can
Mm.
you actually achieve in a particular month with like a team of people, and can you do the same thing, or at least 80% of what a team of 100 people can do with a team of 5,
Mm.
right? And then once you get to that 80%, what North Star do you now see that will take you in a new direction? And so I wouldn't say that we're necessarily like, sure, if we had more money, we could do more things. If we had more customers, we'd be shipping more product. But what we're seeing is the growth of a new industry that's like organically forming in front of us through different use cases, through different stories, through different things that we see succeed in the world and things that we see fail, big bets that people make that fail, or little ones that actually shot up to the moon. And it's like you can't rush perfection, and you can't rush the world. It's just going to happen. And right now I think we're in the place where, yeah, we're supporting an incredible fleet of products across the world. We've got team at the ready to go teleport on a flight somewhere in 10 minutes if we have to. We've got incredible designers here making incremental changes to get that extra 9 at the end of the 999 for reliability. And we've got team, yeah, making new product as well.
How'd you find the like few people? I think you said something like you have 2 people that are the guys that just fly all over the place if you need them to. How'd you find those 2 people?
Well, we have they're a team.
They're a
It's
team.
Hex
Okay.
Ops.
Hex Ops.
And the
Yeah.
first guys in the team were some of the first people that built like the globals. So one of them, his name's Tito, and he was the best at like installing the drive shaft in the global and like twisting the wrench on this really hard to reach Allen screw. And he figured it out. He could do it every time, and he knew why things would break. And so obviously he's the best guy to help figure out other problems across the world. Like, oh yeah, I've seen this before. Oh yeah, I actually built that one. Or just like other things like that. And then there's people on the team. A lot of them have come from just understanding every way a product can fail, either through manufacturing or just kind of tagging along, watching us use the product. And then some on the team just really know how to manage these operations. Like, all right, I got your flight, don't worry about it. Like a dude in the chair,
Yeah.
you need a dude in the chair that's like got like talking
global
to
view.
ops. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one of the guys is and this is a dream come true, it's my best friend since I was 2 years old. His name's Dylan, and I went to preschool with him, elementary school with him, and we separated as I went to high school and college. But like I was spending the night at this guy's house like every week, and he just I love it. He's the perfect guy for this, and we're all gonna grow together. And I just really appreciate everything the Hex Ops team does to support our products across the world.
So I know that you want to eventually kind of have like a real-time updated map of the world with lots and lots of little drones flying all over the place and constantly giving, updated information and data. How are you going to get from like here where you're shipping a few products, which are mainly the actual kind of like shell around the drone, to actually like shipping drones themselves and building out like a massive fleet?
Yes, well, eventually we will get there. And in that time, that kind of concept is like the Miami verse that we pitched a while back. We had a big presentation where like the Miami verse is where you can experience the whole world, or at least see what's going on and feel like a part of the bigger picture. Like a big thing that I always want to know is what are we building? What's going on? And right now, yeah, we're making products for the critical first responder. We're making products for like responding to like broken train tracks, so we don't have a $500,000 train incident, or like oil rigs, so we don't have a massive like explosion or oil burst or leak or whatever. But what I want people to feel like when they see a drone in the air, I don't want them to think, oh no, what's wrong? Oh no, is someone in a car accident? Oh no, it's like, is there a train track that's broken? I want people to think, what are we building? Heck yeah. Like, hell yeah. I'm amped. Like, or what's for dinner, or like, what's going on? I'm excited. I'm glad to see things flying around in the world doing stuff. And I think how we do that is by automating drones, of course, through drone stations, and battery swapping is a key part in that, primarily because birds don't make money on the ground, right? So having a really great way to automatically recharge them and enable them to fly for as long as possible is kind of critical to our vision. And as we can see and can start building this world that, yeah, and by the way, there's a ton of different people that all have their own kind of vision of the world, and drones are just a little part of it. But they have things tying in from city plans and development, events going on around town, just like ongoing like ecological projects or studies that universities are doing. And it would be great to not have to search for them really, because you don't know everything that's out there, but really be able to have a view of just like, wow, here's what's out there. I didn't even know that this was happening, or I didn't even know we were building this thing here. I didn't know that my city just repaired 400 potholes for me just last week. Maybe my tax dollars are doing something important. And really being able to give that feedback to every person and making them feel like they're part of something bigger. It's my dream. It's the dream of Hextronics. It's the dream of everything that we do. It's why we don't sleep. It's why we stay awake and build crazy boxes of aluminum bunk, but yeah, that's what I'm excited for. And I think there's a lot of different ways to do it. And I think that drone stations are only going to get better.
Yeah, I know that like a big part of your goal here is to kind of make the transition from people somewhat having this like fearful idea of drones. Right now when you think of a drone, it's like either spying on you or gonna go blow something up. And in the future, hopefully that's like actually it just delivered my Chipotle burrito.
5 stars.
And you know, what is your kind of thinking on how to make that transition successfully?
To make it successfully, it has to be available to anybody. It has to be able for just like, I don't know, a 16-year-old that's at some high school to order this burrito, at their home in their backyard, or some just person who's working on a construction site to see, oh, here's the big plan for like what the contractor is building, or things like that. And I just think that it needs to be applicable for anybody to see, or at least get that data, or at least get some version of that data that enables them to know that there's something bigger out there and they're a part of it, and that they can become more a part of it the more they kind of build. And I do see, yeah, now it's like biggest thing is like, oh, we just ordered like $1 million in drones and they're gonna go blow up things, and it's great, but why are we blowing up American drones? Like, we should be using them, So in my point of view, I just want to be making technology that makes people understand that there's
Like
a
a
better
happier
world.
place.
Yeah, there's a better world. And it's one that we're building. And I know it's incredibly cliche, but somebody's got to be cliche. Okay.
So when you're thinking about like the critical path of what needs to happen over the next few months to, be successful or make everything run smoothly, how do you think through that?
Sometimes, so step one is like, what's on fire? What's blowing up my DMs? That's probably step one. And then
What's been that most recently? What's been the most on fire thing?
I mean, it doesn't happen as much as it used to, but like on fire thing is just like either somebody's firewall is blocking the dock from connecting to it, or like somebody doesn't know how to use it, so like, how do I click this button, how do I open it, or like some feature isn't turned on and they're just like, why isn't it doing this thing, and it's like, you didn't turn on this feature that does that thing. And it's that's just what I respond to. It's what Hex Ops team goes and responds to, and it's all things that do feedback into like the product design and development and getting to that final 9 at the end of the 999. And so that then the things that are fires, if they're resolved like immediately through something small, like, yeah, just do this, or hey, I gotta click the button, or hey, just like turn off and on again, then it goes into some like period of like, okay, this is something in the product that we need to improve. It's something that over like tens of thousands of cycles, this one part fails. That's now in the top of the list for engineering team, for design to factor back in, and that's a critical priority on sustaining these products and building more and more and more and more of them. And then it kind of trickles down from there, feeding more and more, and pretty much everything that we do is surrounding the product, either in design, in support, in like upgrading or in new product development, or just expanding product scope that enables more to be done with our existing products. And
What like
mhm,
percentage of your day do you think you spend, thinking about product or doing something around that versus like talking to customers and working with a team?
I'd say 60% of my day is on product, and then maybe 30% is on customers, and the rest of it's on just like logistics and planning, and kind of managing the rest of the team, and figuring out other avenues to really prove our technology's success.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And then like critical path for the next, 6, 12 months, what does that look like?
Critical path. So I mean, we've got a pretty cool thing launching next week. We'll see when this podcast drops. But for us, we're launching it next week in Paris. It's a new SKU, or a new variation of our Universal. It now works with a drone that is to be released as well at that expo. And that'll definitely be something pretty impactful and big for us to track across all of these industry verticals, especially public safety and industrial, and especially in the U.S. Because it is the very first blue UAS battery swapping drone in a box station that's relatively portable, pretty easily portable, and also with a pretty good like, it packs a punch when it comes to the payload.
How long has that been in development?
So I mean, we've been working on this for at least the Universal for 2 years, with these
Mhm.
different SKUs, different variations. And Universal is actually maybe not that one, but another one we have is the one that has swapped the most out of any of our drone stations, or over on like has undergone the most amount of cycles. It's
Really?
done like 100,000 swaps.
Whoa.
That's equivalent
Yeah.
to basically like 20 years of sustained use. So we feel like we've solved it on this bad boy. And there's a lot of little things that we put in there that me as a customer would be really happy about. And it's not just us. The company that we partnered with on this Parrot, they're a really great group. They manufacture drones in the U.S. for U.S. Security, as well as for industrial users, and they've been great to work with. We've learned a lot from other products that we've kind of thought about working on together, and this is a pretty big step for us. So I'm excited to launch it, and really ready to keep adding nines.
Awesome. Is Have there been any like big mental model shifts for you or the way that you think over the past year? Things that you wouldn't have expected and have
Mhm.
happened?
I feel like there's people always say, like, think bigger, and I feel like I'm thinking bigger. So I don't know how to exactly describe that, but it's just really understanding more of the strings
Hmm.
that are like either attached to me, or strings that are attached to different companies, organizations, or people across the world, and figuring out how to play those strings like a guitar or something, is like thinking bigger. And I don't mean to be too romantic or analogical, but I do think that really having more streamlined approach to scaling drone in a box technology, something that's I am thinking about a lot more. And that's where I think that thinking bigger and also thinking smaller
What
is,
do you mean by thinking smaller?
well, just thinking about like the little components that go
Hmm.
into all of these systems, right? Every single resistor on a circuit board, every single like choice in material, all of that stuff factors into not just the reliability, but the look and feel, as well as the scalability and manufacturability of our products.
Yeah, and I imagine that like for the first iterations or the first versions, you have to use kind of like off the shelf parts
Mm-hmm.
because you obviously can't build everything in house yourself. But then over time, you're building more and more of your own boards and other parts of the
Mm-hmm.
technology. How do you kind of think about like starting off with other people's tech and then
Mm-hmm.
over time transitioning to your own as you build more and more of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's natural. It's
Mhm.
just like, I'm an organism, how did an organism get a mitochondria? It ate a mitochondria and then now the mitochondria became part of its DNA. And I don't and I know that's overly biological, but primarily it's just like there's a meme that's like I made this and then it hands it to somebody and then they're like thanks. I made this. And I think that goes a long way in the hardware space, at least of this growing industry. And I don't think that I mean, look, if you're gonna buy Hextronics, some of our first customers bought our drone stations and obviously tried to reproduce them. Like straight up, our first customers were like, I took everything
You
apart.
took everything apart, tried to dissect it, figure out how it worked.
Exactly, exactly. I'm like, hey, why aren't you guys flying your drone station? It's like, well, we're building a drone
Yeah.
station. It's like,
Do you do you
great.
do you have any like stories of, we did this not because it was easy, but because we thought it would be easy?
Mm-hmm. Yes, pretty much the whole company. But more than that, I'd say, yeah, just accepting kind of like an order for units for like a new product and being like, dude, we just made one just like it. How hard can this one be? And then we're like,
Turns out
yeah.
it's pretty hard.
Turns out we need like 3 more motors and we need to install another circuit board and this needs to be bigger, this needs to be, and so that's kind of like the game with hardware and mechanical design is it's never as easy as it should be.
Yeah. So now you're planning for at least a few months in the future and probably like a couple years out. What's going through your mind when you're doing that?
I'm trying to understand how like not just the regulatory landscape of the air is going to look like in 3 years, but yeah, how much we're going to be playing a role in that and having an impact. Because obviously, we can be making these drone stations that just any old cowboy can buy and fly and not report it to the FAA. They can just fly it on their own whim. And who's gonna tell? The FAA doesn't have radar anywhere, everywhere, or else they would sell it. Because that's actually a service that some people are doing. So yeah, I see a lot of development and growth in the regulatory landscape. There's something called Part 107. People in the industry are just like, oh, maybe that's going to help everybody fly beyond visual line of sight easier. And I do think that's what it's going to do.
Are you spending any of your time on that trying to, I don't know, there's a few companies that I know of that are trying to help the regulation or steer regulation so that
Hmm.
their businesses don't get kind of regulated out of existence. Are you doing any of that?
I wouldn't say we're doing any like hand holding or lobbying, but
Mm,
we're understanding what rules people are making,
yeah.
and we're thinking about all of the mechanisms to abide by those rules in the most automated
Mm,
and rapid way. And I think that there's a lot of kind of like streamlining competition or just like not necessarily being the front runner in a lot of these regulatory conversations that cost thousands or millions if not to sway the line, but at the end of the day it's got to be done in some mechanical way in some physical way that's documented, and that's got to be public
yeah.
or else like none of this is actually going to scale. So yeah, kind of just thinking more about the mechanics of how things are going to be is what we try to do.
Yeah. I know that you're going to be working with the like city of Miami on this like massive drone show. How'd that come together?
Oh, I'm incredibly excited about this. So it was a while back. I met somebody from the mayor's office at an event, and we became friends. And then we kept talking. And all of a sudden, I was in a meeting, and people were like, we should have a cool drone show for 4th of July. Don't you think so, Kurt?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's awesome." And they're like, "Okay, you figure it out." So I'm like, of course, I'm on it. And when the city of Miami asks you to do something, you find out any way you can to do it. And so it'll be at in Coconut Grove during the 4th of July with the Miami Symphony Orchestra. So it's like out of a movie, you know. And I'm coordinating like the logistics behind where are the drones flying, where are they launching from, how long are they in the air, what are like the symbols that we're going to show, and then just yeah, ensuring safety and ensuring that all the teams know what's going on, and that I get my nice stamp from the city of Miami saying that the light show is approved.
Is that going to like potentially lead to like more relationships like that in the future with other cities?
We'll see. It
See.
definitely has
Mhm.
our eyes set on how to make drone shows easier
Yeah.
to put on. But I think that yeah, more cities should have access to super cool drone shows, and I think that making this technology present and fun and enjoyable for people, it's what drives us. You know.
Yeah, I also imagine that like the drone shows, especially like in China, are really awesome, and
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that gets people excited about drones, at least over there.
Uh
Um,
huh.
our drone shows should get us excited.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Let's end on what are you most excited about over the next 12 months?
I'm excited about scaling our products, adding more nines. I'm excited about the software that we're working on. We talked about it during Miami Tech Week. This is a Miami Tech Week shirt that like lets you pilot a drone from anywhere in the world from your phone
Mhm.
out of one of our drone stations deployed across like heck. Where does Hextronics have a drone station? I want to go fly it. And so I'm super excited about that. I'm excited to work with all of the interns that we have at Hextronics this summer. We have some really incredible minds here, some that have returned for some reason, and some new ones that are just understanding exactly what Hextronics is all about.
How fast are you hiring? Like,
I
is it
mean,
just a bunch of people right now?
it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's not like we're just doing it on a whim. We've got strategic roles lined up for all of them, but it is very much centered around product. Supporting product and growing product is it's everything that drives us, as well as growing manufacturing, documenting, getting more levels of higher levels of approvals. You know, it's incredible what the FAA lets fly nowadays, but really to get things type certified or to get who knows what drone stations need to be certified under. But we're intending to help figure that out.